now that we have everything all cleaned up and stuff, now we can finally begin the reassembly. So start off with this top piece. Take our pinion, drop it down in there. So there are a pair of shims on here. Well, there is a shim on here. You can kind of see it there. Make sure those are on there. There's a tiny dab of grease under them so that they'll stay. Right? Drop that down in. Then, gonna take our keeper. Gonna put a little bit of Permatex, just for sealant, around this lip. Get this chunk off of here. Okay. Now we can drop that on there. Grab our 3 mounting screws and washers. I'm going to put a little dab of just blue Loctite on here. And then these don't get torqued to really much of anything. Just get them snug. It's probably like 10 inch-pounds. It's not a whole lot since these are tiny and they're going into aluminum. Sure, that still moves. That's about as, can definitely move it by hand, but it is just about as hard as it could possibly be to move by hand. So just nice and tight. All right, now let's add a bunch of grease. I'm going to cheat. This is on here super loosely, so it's not going to mar the splines at all, but you can at least turn it over. Add a little bit more on there. There we go. Like that. Now, install this. Just going to put a little bit on the sides. Okay. Now, lay this down. I'm going to try to get those holes kind of roughly centered here in between. Right? Thereabouts-ish. Then get this upper half ready. Throw some grease on it. Okay. All right. Just cleaning off this mating surface. That way the sealant will have a good surface that it can actually adhere to. Cool. Just to make it easier, let's put it on this. Going super thin. This all fits together really nice and tight, so definitely don't need a lot. And no matter how much you put on here, this whole system will never be sealed. So don't try to. You're just trying to make it a little better. That's all. Okay. Plenty of grease in there. Just working it back and forth to try to work the grease out, because I want the whole thing to be covered, but obviously it still needs to move and seal. So make sure our bolts can still access that. Okay. Start dropping all these in. Before we do that, actually, I'm going to drop in this bushing right here, just because I think it'll be a little easier right now versus once it's all torqued down. So this is a very, very snug fit, so gotta basically get everything aligned perfectly for it to drop in there. There. Piece of cake. Okay. Now we can bolt this whole thing together. So for these, also going to use a little bit of Loctite on here. Again, blue, just because just because I'm impatient. Okay. All I did was just run those down basically until they contacted. So as you can see, there. I'm not probably just a couple foot-pounds right here. Like basically I could probably do it just as much that way. Just trying to get all of it, you know, just slowly push all the grease out of the ends that does not need to be in there. And then we'll torque these to 20 foot-pounds. Just kind of skip around here a little bit. Okay. All right. Torque wrench set to 20. Okay, all those are good. Now, I'm gonna mark them all. So, now, just to make sure before we get too far down the road, right, want to make sure that there's nothing binding up or anything like that. So, just want to wipe away some of this grease so that I can see the bar in there. Again, clamping these kind of in between the two sets of splines, and they're super soft, right? Oh yeah. Actually, a little bit. There we go. Tighten them up a little bit. Now, I have a tiny bit of free play. Maybe a 1/16 of an inch right there. Probably can't see that on camera, but that right there is all the free play movement that I have, which I'm going to call that good. That's a solid improvement. So, and those shims on the end of this pinion, that is how we fine-tune that. So I cheated and I did that off camera, got that dialed in. So all it needed was an additional 0.006 shim in there, but now I have virtually zero play.